Good afternoon, everyone. This is Tony from our Alabama homestead, and as you can see, we are safe and sound back home in Canada. And yes, we have heat warnings here as well. I understand the south is getting quite a bit hotter. I'm hearing that they're in the 100-degree range. We're not quite as bad here. I think we're 80 degrees, but with the humidity level, it's probably closer to 90, 95. So it always seems to be at least a 5 to 7 degree cooler here than what it is on my Alabama homestead. And the humidity is bad here, but once again, not as bad. I think that the humidity level down south is greater. I'll admit that. The weather is similar in the summer, but it is hotter and more humid down south by far. So it wasn't too much to adapt to. I knew well enough to make sure that I had clothing that was suitable for the weather, and I had brought my linen dresses, which I had bought maybe a year ago, at least. They aren't new. No, maybe even 2 years ago, and I just bought them at Winners. I spotted one, and I thought it was very pretty and comfortable and loose, and linen is like cotton. It's a very comfortable wear. The only issue with linen is that it needs to be pressed. It's always got this wrinkled look, but that's fine too. You can wear it like that as well. I found that I was washing the dresses and just hanging them to dry, and if they were a little bit wrinkled, oh well. Here I would press them, I would iron them, and they'd look very nice, but it's not that much of an issue anyway. So yes, just dress for the weather. It was a quick trip. It was actually, we stayed a little longer than we'd intended to anyway, but we did accomplish the chores that we had set out to get done on this particular trip. And I've suggested to Mark that we try to do, we are going to try to do a 6-month stint, or as long as it's allowed for the balance of this year and 3 months of next year. But maybe just cut it short a little bit on each end so that we can do another summer trip, because it looks like it's a good time to be there for, it's always a good time to be there. But yeah, we can, maybe a late summer, but sometime an extra trip rather than just one. So this morning, I ran around and did a few of those chores, like stocking up on a few of the items that we like to have fresh in the fridge all the time. And so did a quick Costco run. Now, Costco is not too far from me here, which makes it fairly convenient, and things like the half and half cream are a lot cheaper at Costco than they are anyplace else. So even just to go for those, get a couple of those containers is almost worthwhile. But I did pick up a number of other groceries while I was there as well. So always take advantage of, not having to do too much running around. Now, after my experiment of trying to do outdoor canning, which I have always done in the past, whenever I've done my big load of tomatoes, when I do, a couple of bushels of tomatoes, I always, when I had my own home, had the option of preparing them, most of it outside, the cooking part anyway. I like to do the filling of the jars and all of that indoors where, everything's sanitary. But the boiling and the cooking of the jars I've always liked to do outdoors. And yes, while in Alabama, we did use our fire pit, and I learned a lot. The fire pit was great. I wouldn't have wanted to boil the tomatoes in them. I did use the stove for that. But to boil the jars already done, it was a good option. Learned a lot. Boy, does that soot collect on the pot. And some of you have told me, yes, one way to make it easier to clean is to rub soap on the edges and on the bottom of the pot. Well, I didn't know that. But it's a really heavy aluminum pot, and I really love it. I've had it for years. I'm not able to use it here because it is too heavy for a stove. It's bigger than our pressure canning pots. So I did not want to use that on the cooktop. But I hunted around for a propane burner down south. And it was, I mean, all the stores said that they had them, and when you go, they don't have them. You have to have them delivered. And we knew we weren't going to be there for enough time to have it delivered by the time I started looking. If I knew that the day that we'd arrived, or even the day after, I could have had it delivered. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. I didn't even know if I could even get tomatoes to can at that point. So I thought, okay, well, when I get back, I'll order it from Walmart. They seem to have the best price, or Amazon was another one that I could have ordered it from and have it delivered. And anyway, I decided to take a quick peek up here. There are a number of stores that I know carry them. They're very popular here because you still have a lot of people from Italy, my country, that do a lot of canning of tomatoes, and they do them outdoors, and they use these burners all the time, these propane burners. And so I knew that, you know, where I am, in the locale where I am, they would still be available in certain places this time of year. In the US, you seem to have combo turkey roasters, turkey fryers, I think they're called. Yes, turkey fryers. That's not very common up here, but the idea of being able to buy great big huge pots is, I mean, I had a great big huge one which I gave away again with my burner, and I just kept the smaller one of the two. And so anyway, I checked around the stores and went to the flea market. I knew that there was a vendor at the flea market that sold them. And that kind of spooked me because he had a little one that was probably the size that I used to have, only it was very delicate. The little one that I used to have, it just had the shorter legs, but it had the full good burner. And this one was basically the same size, but the steel frame was very not strong, let's put it that way. And he wanted $60 for that. And I went, whoa, $60 for that? That looks like it would not stand up to putting a good heavy pot on it. So, I mean, I was hoping he had something in between that and the very powerful one that he was selling, but he didn't. So, walked away from that fellow. Went to Canadian Tire, and Canadian Tire did have a product. So, okay, there was one. And I think they wanted $99. Now we're talking Canadian dollars, which is about 70 cents on the dollar for US dollars, so there is a difference. Anyway, Canadian Tire wanted $100 basically, so that would have been $70 US. So I thought, okay, I'll keep that in mind and see if there is somebody else that carries the similar product with a good heavy steel frame and the cast burner that I was looking for. They all have the cast burners up here. And went there, went to Walmart, they didn't have any, went to Home Depot, they didn't have any. All of them said that they did. So went to a few, and then I looked online to a few shops that I knew sold. Well, one was not too far from me, actually, and they sold the great big huge aluminum pots as well. So they had the best price. They had one for $79, and it was a good, solid, heavy frame, which is what I wanted. And who else? And then there was another firm that was a good 40 minutes away from me, and they also had a good quality one that was another $10 more. So I thought, great, the guys close to me are the ones that ended up getting my business. So I did buy one, and I will be taking it down south in the fall when we go back. So I will have outdoor canning facilities. I do have the patio, which is wonderful. Lots of place to do this. I could even set that up in my fire pit area if I wanted to, and just use a propane burner there. But I think even just the patio near the back kitchen door would be the best place for it, so that you can go in and out quickly, fill the jars, and take them outside to process them. And this is just for, well, I guess I can do pressure canning out there as well. So I'm all set now to, oh, and I also found these utensils that I had that are pretty useless to me in my kitchen. They're huge, but this one is perfect. And, you know, I have 3 of these very large that will help if I wanted to do some outdoor cooking in that great big pot. So I have a few things that I am planning to take back with me again. As always, when I'm here, I'm planning what do I need to take back there that could make my life easier, that I have here, that I cannot use here. So I am doing that. There are some things I just didn't get rid of, and certainly it's good to take advantage of those and take them with me. Now, I did visit my garden this morning, and my tomatoes are doing fine. I've got a whole bunch of little green tomatoes. None of them have ripened yet, but it is still July, towards the end of July. I suspect in another week or 2 they'll all start to ripen, and we'll have probably the main flush by mid to late August. And they are the little grape tomatoes that I grow every year. They're not sandwich tomatoes or beefsteak tomatoes. They're just the little grape tomatoes. But because I was away, I was not able to remove the extra shoots that grow out. So rather than growing tall, which is the way I like to do them, it kind of bushed out. And they're too large now for me to cut out and just leave them alone, let them, you know, and there's tomatoes on all of it. So I'm just leaving them be, tying them up as much as I can. But I do have ground cover cloth on the bottom, so even if some of them got heavy and fell over, the tomatoes would not rot, so they wouldn't be sitting on soil. And I did that because I knew I wouldn't have the time or the energy to clean weeds. And the plot next to me was abandoned, and I'm getting a ton of weeds, so I am so glad that I at least protected my area so that the weeds are not as bad as they would have been otherwise. And I spotted one of my neighbor gardeners this morning, and he he was leaving as I was coming in, and he stood beside my plot and he said, "This doesn't look like you." And I said, "No, I guess it doesn't, but I've been away." And I didn't tell him that, you know, I have other interests now, other things drawing my attention. He has been in that garden area ever since I've been there, probably before that. So one of the regulars that you always stop and chat with, and it's been a funny year because a few of the regulars have not been working the gardens as well or as much as they could have or have done in the past. So it seems either a few of us have other things that have drawn our attention away from the garden. Sadly, next year I've got to, when Mark and I decide that we're going to spend this chunk of time here and this chunk of time there and get that settled, it'll be a lot easier for me to properly plan and keep my garden here as long as we maintain a home here. So now that it is coming into August, we're going to be doing a lot of canning here in Canada as well. I have started doing a little bit of applesauce and a little bit of potatoes before we left, and already Mark is using the canned potatoes, and they're actually quite nice. I think I'll make more and start doing a lot more things. And certainly I've got to do 2 bushels of tomatoes here this year. I'm down to, I didn't do very many last year, and I'm down to probably the last 30 pint jars. No, that's all that I have down south. I think I have 37 pint jars, but I'm hoping when I get back there in the fall that I'll be able to can up some more. We have a number of things that we make with the tomatoes, one of them being chili, the other one being pasta. We do eat pasta a fair bit, you know, at least once or twice a week. And even if you're saying once or twice a week, that's more than 37 jars for 6 months. Yeah, so, and then to make the extras like the chili on top of it or salsa, you're going to need more than that. So hopefully when we get down in the fall, we'll, you know, if they're still there, we'll buy 4 boxes, which would be 100 pounds. That would probably do us. And if not, then the next season, we'll make sure to get a whole lot more. At least now we know where to get it. And I also have accumulated the tools that I need when I get back down there. You know, I'll have to bring more jars as well. I have an abundance of jars up here, and there's no point in buying more when I have more than I need up here, and just have to keep bringing what I need, splitting it equally, so that I have the resources I need at both ends. So, yes, we're already looking forward to the next trip down, but I have to settle in my mind that I'm here for a few more months and do what we can here and make this work for us just as well. So that's it for now. We're home safe, and everything's all good. So talk to you real soon, and probably see you on the other channel more often, but I'll try to even post on this one once in a while. And I don't miss the mosquitoes.